I've given away this week one person £22,000 and I've given someone else £100. Why the big difference? The last video we put out yesterday, 4 million people have watched it already. We get 500 million views a month. We get more views than the BBC.
More views than the BBC?
Yes. You know, Martin Luther King didn't say, I've got a plan, or I've got an idea, I've got a dream. But when I was younger, I was told business was this cutthroat thing. I really believed it was. I thought, for example, you needed money to make money. It's not true. So if you want to learn how to chat up women, don't listen to my content. I'm useless. If you want to build a business with purpose, where that purpose and the profit from that business goes to help people, I'm probably a good person to listen to. I have a dislike for Nigel Farage, so I would hopefully fix the education system so that he never got elected again. The mission's not over. I haven't won the war because there's still a problem, a systematic, serious problem that's affecting young people in a major way that I haven't fixed yet.
Welcome to the Business Growth Podcast, powered by ActionCOACH UK, the world #1 in business coaching. Since 1993, we've helped thousands of business owners and entrepreneurs worldwide smash through their limits and achieve extraordinary results. This is more than a podcast, it's your blueprint for success. So grab a pen and paper, take notes, and make sure you hit the subscribe button and notification bell for weekly growth insights. Let's do this. ActionCOACH, the help you need to grow your business.
What if the biggest thing holding you back in business isn't money, contacts, or timing, but excuses you don't even realise you're making? That's exactly what Simon Squibb is here to expose. He started his first business at 15. He's built and sold companies, invested in hundreds more, and now is on a mission to fix what he calls a broken education system. Simon doesn't just talk about dreams, he funds them. And one question driving it all: what's your dream?
This episode is sponsored by Constant Contact. Constant Contact is a powerful yet easy to use marketing platform designed for small business. Leverage automation and AI to expand your contact list, build relationships, and drive business with email, social media, event marketing, and more. Now back to the podcast.
How many people on TikTok?
Are we TikToking? We are TikToking. Are we ready?
Live. Can they see? Can they hear?
They can see and hear, and we're ready. Right. Simon, are you an excuse remover?
I think I might be. I think a lot of people are making excuses for not doing things, and I quite like helping people realise that they're just making excuses and they're limiting themselves. A lot of people have limiting belief, and I love seeing people wake up and realise that they can do more than they think, and they should be doing more than they think.
What's the limiting belief?
It's often something that happened to you between 0 and 7 that somehow became true in your mind. So it might be, for example, that a big business is harder to manage than a small business. And it might just be something you heard or something someone told you. Your subconscious memory locks it in as truth, and then it becomes a part of your belief system. So people listening are breathing right now without thinking about it. They're blinking, their heart's happening, moving, pumping without them thinking about it, not telling your body to do certain things. That's in your subconscious. So it's basically something in your subconscious. Limiting belief systems are things that are in your subconscious that you believe are true no matter what. And sometimes they stop people following their purpose and their dreams.
Have you ever had limiting beliefs?
Oh, I have a lot. When I was younger, definitely. As I've got older, I've realised that as I've had no choice but to push the boundaries of what I believed to be true, I realised that those things weren't true. So I have had cases where I thought, for example, you needed money to make money. Not true. You can just make money. Don't need money to make money. Certain things that you're told, like you got to treat people bad, like you got to treat. The whole thing when I was younger was like, I'm just going to show my age a little bit, but Gordon Gekko, you've got to tread on people to get ahead. That's just business. It's just business. It's not personal. I've discovered that it's very personal. These things I thought were true when I was younger, as I grew up, it's not true. You don't have to tread on people to get ahead. I think I've got ahead by doing the right thing by people, by building relationships with people. But when I was younger, I was told business was this cutthroat thing. I really believed it was. You only survive if you treat people badly. It's not true.
How have you changed over the last 10 years?
The last 10 years have been probably the most interesting 10 years of my life. I think, of course, I was 15 years old when I left home. I left school and I started a business at 15 years old. So, of course, that was quite an incredible period in my life, crazy stage. But I think the last 10 years I've really figured out the purpose of life. And I figured out what makes me happy. So I know me. And I think that's one of the things with age. You do get to know yourself and you know what you're capable of. I think you know what your belief system is. your true belief system. I think you can start to really figure out what your true belief system is. And I think I figured out what makes me happy and what I think the world needs to do to fix certain problems. And I know I can be influential in fixing those problems. So I've realized in the last 10 years, instead of complaining about something, for example, I can build a solution to it. So I think the education system's broken. And I've been saying it since I was 20. Since I left school, and the school system did not give me any of the tools to live in the real world. I didn't know how money worked. I didn't have financial literacy. How can that be right after 12 years in school? So I think now I realise, and the last 10 years have given me this, that actually anything I can think of, I can make happen.
You remember at BizX when you were speaking now? I mean, I was listening to all of the speakers, and you were passionate. You were direct. You were brutal about points. You were swearing a lot. You were being really direct about your points, and probably, and I'm saying probably because I got a lot of learnings from that event, but I think probably you said something that had the biggest impact on me, and maybe the audience as well. And it's because I've got kids, and a lot of the listeners right now have got kids as well. But even if you've not got kids, this question is for you. And you said, teachers are asking the wrong question. Who do you want to be? The question is, what problem are you going to solve? What are you going to fix on this planet? And I took that away with me, actually. My kids are 9, 9 and 7. And I took that personally as well, But that is your book. What's your dream? It's all about purpose, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, and again, I think this is quite dangerous. We have a institutional structure that is teaching our kids to think about what they're going to do when they grow up, which traps them into a job that probably won't exist. So, if you're 9 years old and you're being asked, what do you want to do when you grow up, which is what every teacher asks, every parent accidentally asks, well, what are they going to be? Well, we don't know. If you're going to be a doctor, pretty sure AI is going to do that. If you want to be a lawyer, pretty sure AI is going to do that. You want to be an accountant, AI is going to do that. So, why are we training kids to think, first of all, in a trapped way? So you get forced as a kid. The reason this really upset me is I was with my 4-year-old when I first took him to school. I took him to a private school, and the first day I could be with him as he was introduced into the school. And the teacher, who was lovely, she might listen to this and be offended, but she made a huge mistake that completely changed my whole trajectory. She basically sat my 4-year-old down with these 14 other 4-year-olds and asked, the first question was, "Hi kids, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And my 4-year-old looked at me in search of what I wanted him to say and what I wanted him to be. Instead of him being able to play and learn what he loves to do, what his hobbies are, and he looked at me in panic. Like, what shall I say to make this teacher happy, to make this very serious moment, make everyone happy? And I just wanted him to be a kid. And I see it every single day, kids getting asked this question, what do you want to be? It traps them into this treadmill, into this idea, you want to be a lawyer. All right, well, this is the university to go to, and this is what you need to learn. And, these are the lawyers out there you can follow. And suddenly you're trapped at 4 years old into a treadmill, in a world that the end of the treadmill might not even exist. And so it horrified me. And I think that it's a real problem. And so, the simple solution is stop asking that question. And that we can ask a much more broad question that gives us much more hope, which is, what problem would you like to solve in the world? Let's go and inquire the problems in the world that we can fix. We're so doom and gloomy. There's so many problems. If you're living in the UK right now, I had 5 meetings this morning. Every single person was down on the UK. We're not really talking about how to fix the UK. We're just talking about what the problems are with the UK. And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of problems being presented and no solutions. And we're putting it on our kids by giving them this ultimatum of like a particular thing they've got to do, instead of broadening it out and saying, right, there's some problems and there always will be. How can we fix them? What can we do positively to make the world a better place? Can we just be kind to each other? Can we just help someone out today? It doesn't have to be this, what are you going to do?
And you've kind of morphed that question into what's your dream?
Yes.
It's kind of a similar related question. It's ever so slightly different.
It's an open question.
Yeah.
So, what's your dream is a personal development issue. What do you like to do? And how can you apply what you like to do to something that matters to you? And so for me, a dream is much more abstract. Again, Martin Luther King didn't say, I've got a plan. or I've got an idea. I've got a dream, and I think it allows us to just breathe a bit. Again, I did talk extensively about this word in my book because I think it's quite important for people to understand the freedom they have and they don't realize it. And as you get older, you get more and more trapped. You can get trapped by your own business, by the way. You can get trapped by your lifestyle inflation. And you can get trapped by your own mind telling you that you are a certain thing. You have to be a certain thing. And I think that humans don't need to be that way.
Yeah, look, you've mentioned trapped a number of times here. You're trapped by this initial sort of booby trap that's in front of you. What do you want to be when you're older, rather than what do you want to fix? I told you that question resonated to the core of me. It made me pay attention more than anything to you. And I was already paying attention because I booked you in the first place. But it was like, that's the thing. That's all I'm bothered about with my kids now. And that's thanks to you, actually.
That's nice to hear. Well, your kids will grow up, hopefully, in a world where they've got choice. And they don't have to be on this treadmill.
Yeah. So, but there's a few other things, and we've touched on a few already. What's your dream? Decide on the problem you're going to solve. And then we've got a real challenge on our hands here. We've got to remove every excuse.
Yes.
Because we're pretty good at coming up with them, yeah?
Of course, humans are lazy by default.
Yeah, seek pleasure, avoid pain at every given opportunity. What's the most interesting excuse you've had on the street when you've asked this question?
Well, the number one excuse is I don't have money.
Right.
People don't have money to expand their business.
How do we
People
remove
have money
that?
to
How do we
hire
remove
someone.
that from everybody right now?
Just, it's very cheesy, but basically realizing there's so much money out there. Money is a made-up thing. And when it's a made-up thing, you can make more of it very easily.
Tell me more about this made-up thing.
Well, it's the first virtual reality we bought into. I mean, money is not even backed by anything. In the UK, for example, the pound used to be backed by gold. We removed the gold standard a long time ago. It actually has nothing backing it, which is why when Brexit happened, it dropped 15%. Nothing changed in that day. Nothing. No economic trade had changed. No income stream. Nothing had changed. Nothing. But the pound dropped 15% because it's only worth what you think it's worth. So when you realise that money is only worth what you think it's worth, you can also, in reverse, create money by thinking about it.
Interesting. There's one of my mentors, Brad Sugars. He's got a really interesting definition of money. He says this is his definition of money. Money is an idea backed by confidence.
Fair.
It's a good point, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty good way of explaining it. I mean, ultimately, I think money is a tool. It's a way of making your idea real, and I think it's a way that other people can contribute to your dream. So, for example, I've given away this week one person. I gave them £22,000 to make their dream a reality, and I've given someone else £100. So why the big difference? Now, some people, £100, I'm just their first customer. I'm booking them to post my social media. I become their first customer to help them believe in their business model, to help them see that there is actually someone that would use your business and believe in you. Because we all only need one customer to start most of the time. And then the person who needs £23,000, well, they want to open up something much more elaborate that involves equipment. And I think that sometimes with some businesses, for example, again, someone today, they want to open up a cake business. And they said they want to open up a shopfront. And they don't know how much, though. So when I said how much, I could give them the money there and then. But they haven't planned for that to happen. So when I asked them how much, if they'd said the number, I probably would have said, here's the money. So I had to then get them to think about what it was and then ask them again. And they said they need £15,000. So then I put a framework in front of them to get the £15,000. And that's the problem with a lot of people. So people listening might want to grow their business. They haven't put a plan in place to grow their business. They're just saying it. They're not thinking about how to hire someone and how to get them on board. Again, like I just think about maybe your audience listening. If you're looking to get a senior hire in, but you can't afford it, you'll be surprised how many people who are senior have money to invest in your business and can come in and invest in your business and actually come and work in your business and own equity in it and therefore work for the equity value over time and not just a salary. So when you start realizing there's different mechanisms to making your business grow or your dream grow or your dream happen, you realize that the first step is having a target. And so what people need to do is just write down what their target is and then work towards it, work backwards almost towards it.
Yeah, that last example is an example of a limiting belief again. And, we can't afford a senior person.
Yes.
Well, yeah, you can, because there's a lot of options over here. Same for a junior person. I mean, you can hire someone in South Africa on Upwork now for $10 an hour or whatever it is. So there's loads of options for everything. So I said earlier on, you're an excuse remover. You remove the excuses in a positive way, because this is like keeping people aligned to their dreams. I think you're probably something else, and it's understated the power that you've got right now. Because yes, giving someone £100 or giving someone £22,000 is one thing. I mean, but you mentioned it there. You show belief in people, and I think that is understated.
I think we all need one person to believe in us, don't we?
Yeah, but look at who you are right now. That's crept up on you. I interviewed Karen Brady once, and she was talking about ambitious people, and I said, do you have to be ambitious to succeed? And she said, no. Ambition can creep up on you. And what I realised when she said that is lots of things can creep up on you. And this one's probably not, you've been there for a long time, but you believing in someone, your ability to inject belief in someone is so strong because of who you become. And who you've become is because of what? I've got my opinion. This question to you. Who you become is because of?
Because of who you were?
I
think that's my view. The reason I think of that 15-year-old me who didn't have anyone believe in him.
Right.
So I just think that wasn't right. And if you just have one person believe in you, that's kind of where it comes from for me anyway. I think I am who I am now because of what I didn't have when I was younger, right? I'm solving that problem for the 15-year-old me.
You're also challenging people pretty hard, actually. It's pretty, you're on camera. When you're doing it, people are on camera. That's spotlight. And you've got the courage to say, look, what's your dream? Go for it. I actually think there's a multitude of things that's coming together here. Number one, you're asking people's dreams. Number two, you're courageous enough to not accept excuses. Challenge people, believe in them. If they say 15 grand, you're saying, here you go. Okay. I think there's a whole host of things that's happening there. And that's why you're having the impact that you're having. How big is your social following now?
Well, first of all, thank you for those compliments. By the way, for those listening, this is probably a strength for weeks, don't know. I find it really hard to take compliments because I actually think it's the dreamers that say their dreams that are the brave ones. And the ones that accept criticism, let me push back. Because plenty of people tell me to piss off, by the way. It's actually quite... I'm in admiration of people that realise that they might be wrong. That is not easy for humans. Right? Often we're like, I don't have money, I can't start a business. And for me to say that's just an excuse to some of these people that are working 2 jobs, trying to make ends meet, and they accept it. I actually, in admiration of those people. And then they didn't ask to be filmed.
No.
So I filmed them. And then afterwards they realise, of course, what it is. And they let the video go up. Even though that doesn't always make them look brilliant. Sometimes they're making an excuse, right? And I actually am in admiration of those people that put those videos up, just to say. So sometimes when I get praise, I'm like, actually, the people that are brave are the people in those videos because they're willing, in public to accept that they were making excuses and then correct. That is human in its best form, with the ability for us to learn and grow and not let our limiting belief systems limit us.
It's ownership, isn't it? It's a number of things. It's courage, it's strength. But maybe that's what you're helping doing as well. I mean, you said thanks. One of my mentors, he said to me once, taking compliments, says the best thing to do is just say thanks. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Acknowledge it. Say thank you. And I'm a big believer in this, interested in your thoughts. And this is part of my purpose. Self-sabotage is biggest pandemic in the world. And we're either beating ourselves up, tearing ourselves down, or building ourselves up at any time. Grow or die type mentality. And maybe accepting compliments is somehow you got to build yourself up off the back of it.
No, I agree. I mean, I personally think that compliments are, I enjoy it when people come up to me and they say, I'm asking myself for the first time what my dream is. You know, that is the best sort of compliment. Like I feel like I'm helping people wake up a bit. I love that. And that makes me keep going.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's because I want to fix the school system. I want to fix the broken system which tells people they're not capable of certain things. And so I feel like I'm kind of accomplishing my mission. Because it's the person in the video is very important to me. I want to help that person push back against the limiting belief, and I want them to follow their dreams and go for their dreams. But the people watching the video, keep in mind, you know, the last video we put out yesterday is like 4 million people have watched it already. So we're like, okay, 4 million people have watched that video. Now they're all watching a video that says, what is your dream? And then they go away and they ask it of themselves. And then if they take action, that's real change, right? The one person in the video, don't get me wrong, they can change their life. And the video, if it does well, means that they can get customers, they can get investors, they can get following, which they can monetize, and their life can change. But the people watching the video, that's where I get kind of really excited about the scale of it all. And I start thinking, wow, this could make a big difference long term, because people are watching themselves in the videos. Most people who do content, they'll get someone famous on their podcast or their platform, and they'll try to get their following to their platform. I think what's really interesting about what we're doing is we already have a big platform, and we're not trying to just get famous people on the platform. We're getting normal people, someone just like you, someone that you can relate to, that might be working at Starbucks or working in a job that they don't love, or just living their life thinking, this is it, I haven't got any money, I won't be able to start my own thing. And then they see them wake up in the video, and that wakes them up. That makes them realize that they were making excuses. It's like coaching. To me, it literally like video is like a coaching mechanism. We call it fun education. So instead of me telling you or 4 million people what to do, you watch someone just like you make the mistakes that you know you are making. And that is a really powerful way of helping a lot of people at once. And that's what gets me really excited about the platform. And that those sorts of compliments, I think it shows that it's reaching people. On the way here today, you know, we actually got a taxi from where I was to here, but before that, when I was filming, so many people stopping me and the team and kind of saying how much of a difference it's making to people's lives. Those are the sort of compliments I like. I do find it hard when I'm sitting with someone who's my peer and they start giving me compliments. I find that hard because I think a lot of it is like, it's somewhat a selfish endeavor, this work. And so a bit like coaching, I would say too, you know, you're helping someone, but hey, you're getting something out of it. You know, I feel I want to be useful and I want to be seen, and I feel useful and I feel seen and I enjoy my work. It's an honor. So somehow a compliment makes me feel like somehow I'm not getting something from it already. And so the compliment is a bonus, but it also doesn't. I don't want it to distract me. I don't want my ego to grow too big. I don't want to become too. Where's my blue and M&Ms? You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to accidentally get sucked into that world of like drinking my own Kool-Aid. There's lots of work to still do. Yes, I have a big following. We get 500 million views a month. We get more views than the BBC. We can make a difference.
More views than the BBC.
Yes. And so, like, I'm at this stage, but I'm trying to make sure that I don't accidentally drink my own Kool-Aid and start thinking the job is done, because the education system isn't fixed. And there are still millions of people right now today that have a dream that can't make it happen because they weren't given the education at school. Opportunity is not freely available to everybody. You know, talent is equally distributed, but opportunity isn't. And while that still remains, I can't let myself get weak and think, I could stop today. I could say, look, I can have a very easy life. I've got a personal social media that makes millions. I could work 1 day a week and, you know, help a few people, and I tick a box. I help a few people, make millions. All right, I just don't want to get weak. You know, I don't know if that's why I'm almost analysing myself for a second. Like, why I find compliments hard at a level where it's peer to peer is like, there's still lots to do. In fact, you know, I want to convince you today to help if you can. You know, maybe you could react to some of our doorbell clips. Do you mind? Like, there's so much to still do. I don't feel like I could sit back and say, you know what? I don't know if this happened to Winston Churchill when he won the Second World War. Like, sit back, we won the war. All right, I'm done now. And that's why he didn't get elected again. You know, he was kicked out of government after the Second World War, right? The mission's not over. I haven't won the war. There's no compliment to be had yet because there's still a problem, a systematic, serious problem that's affecting young people in a major way that I haven't fixed yet.
I think that's purpose-driven fuel, and it's burning really bright in you. There was a guy I interviewed once called Mark Borden. He's branded as the world #1 body language expert, and he sort of mentors on body language. He was Obama's coach for when he goes out and
As soon as
presents.
you say body language, it makes me want to sit up straight.
Yeah, everyone's
my posture better and
super
annoy the audio
self-conscious.
guys.
But he shared this framework of leadership called. He says the most followable leaders on the planet. If you want to become more followable, you follow this sequence. And he was really credible, Mark. And he says, make a choice. Whatever you choose, like for you, you really want to fix education. You really want to get people solving problems, have a dream, yeah? Whatever choice you make, go bigger. He says, make a choice, go bigger. And then he says, keep it tidy. Whatever you do along the way, don't start bolting a bit of this on and a bit of that on and a bit of that on. And that's what's coming in my head here. You've made this choice of dream and you're sticking to it. And your job's not finished yet. The compliments are coming. My job is not finished. We've not won the war. Mm-hmm. You're sticking to, come on, because you look, 4 million views yesterday, 500 million views last month. That's more than the BBC. Was it always like that when you started this?
Of course not. I started this coming up to 6 years ago. And so I remember going live on social media, like nobody on the live. I'm talking to the live, so I'm talking to nobody. And then one person...
Everybody's relating to you right now.
One person comes on the live and I'm talking. I'm like, oh, I've got one person now listening. So I lift I'm talking, hello, how are you? What do you need to learn? And then they leave. So I'm like, okay, back to zero. So... And you know, it's a bit cheesy, everyone starts with zero, but it's true. And I don't think I've ever really followed exactly the numbers. Of course, I like the numbers. It kind of helps add to the success of it. But in reality, I just... You got to... I think there's one part of it which is really interesting, which is, so for social media, a lot of people do focus on following. I think I care more about community. So I look at things like Help Bank, our platform. We've got 260,000 people on there. The product itself isn't brilliant yet. It's getting there. But the fact there's 260,000 people all willing to help someone today for free, that excites me almost more than having 17 million followers or 500 million views above. Because the views is like an addictive roller coaster ride. You know, when you get a viral video, you're like, wow, this is amazing. And in part, it's because we know the person in the video is going to get all the help they need. And that video will then also encourage more people to think what their dream is. And so, great, video's gone viral. But then there'll be a video that doesn't go viral. And I think I have learned to manage that high and low and say, just keep consistently going. And I think what really matters is community, because the community is consistent.
In what way?
Well, 260,000 people will all interact with you today. I can't guarantee 17 million followers will. I also can't guarantee the 500 million people that have viewed the videos will engage in any sort of meaningful way. So I think that community is actually generally much more valuable in business, and it's totally underrated. It's a word that's been around a long time, but people don't really know how to build a community and they don't really understand what it is. I think that for me is the most valuable thing within our system that we've now built, and it's growing fast, but those that really care about solving problems and helping other people solve problems.
If you had to sort of distill it into sort of 3 bits of advice, words of encouragement, for people who are listening right now that want to build a community, what advice would you give them?
Well, I think number one is think about a community as something that is there to help the community. A lot of people build communities to make it help them.
The community builds a community.
Yes, the community manage the community, and the community is there to support each other. So a very important part of building a community is what value can you bring as an organisation to the community? And be very careful thinking about what value the community can bring you. I call this give without take. I've talked about this before, but don't go in there with a mindset of like, I will build this community so that they support my business. That's a big mistake. You go into it thinking, right, I'm going to build this community because we all have a shared value. We all have a shared mission. We all care about the same problem. We all want to solve it. So my community all want to fix the education system. They want to help people live their dream. right? So I'm not there to say, hey, I put up a video. Can you please all like it and comment on it? Thanks. No, dangerous and not the right way to approach community. You build a community. I would go in there and say, someone in our community, Sarah, wants to open up a pottery studio and she's looking for a pottery wheel. Has anyone got a spare pottery wheel? And then people in the community will help her. Right? I haven't gone in there and said, I would like a pottery wheel, please, because I don't want to pay for one. You see what I mean? Like, I think you've got to go into a community with the idea of like, how can you bring value, not how can you extract value? And I think, so, that's number one. Number two is make sure you build the community around a value. So a community for community's sake is actually pointless. You don't want it to ideally be a destructive community for your own mental health, but you want a community that's going to actually care about the same problem as you. Again, people don't think about this, but I think it's important to say, right, we may be very different people. So in my community recently, for example, someone brought up buying property and renting it out, which I'm really against. I think we have a real big problem with property, especially in the UK, becoming a business and causing, a nurse can't afford to rent, a nurse can't afford to buy, and we can't afford to pay a nurse more, right? So that nurse is on food stamps, and tonight when we go into the emergency ward, that nurse will be the one that probably saves our life. So the person that we want to save our life can't afford to rent, can't afford to buy, and can't afford to pay them. Crazy. And a lot of this has to do with how we let property become such a crazy, ridiculous business. And it shouldn't be a business. It's a basic human need, right? So I'm not a socialist, but we should be building social housing. If we can't pay people more, we should provide them with accommodation. We can't let someone buy a property and then ratchet up the value of that property so that a nurse has to pay 8% yield for them, whatever they want to try and squeeze out of their tenant. And that means that nurse now can't afford to live, right? This is not right. And so I'm very passionate about this. So someone in my community started talking about it. And I said, this is not the place to talk about this. This is where we help each other with our dreams and we help each other's problems get solved. We give knowledge, we give a contact, we give an intro.
It's a good rule.
We're here to fix the education system. And this is not a community built to talk about the property problem we've got. If it was, fine. But the person in particular is not, I would not have them in a community that I was talking about property because they don't think there's a problem. They think it's absolutely fine to carry on as we are and let people who cannot afford accommodation, it's their problem. So, but I don't judge that individual when it comes to fixing the education system because they actually want to fix the education system, but their values are different elsewhere. And I think so. The third rule, would be, don't mix the missions up within your community because you end up with a community that fights with each other. If I start posting up in a chat that my political views, half the community will leave. Right? What's the point?
Are politicians scared of you?
Are politicians scared of me?
Are they aware of you yet?
They're definitely aware of me because I'm getting more and more invites to go and chat to them.
Right.
And again, no one's my enemy. If anyone that wants to help me fix the education system, I will sit down with them. I have a dislike for Nigel Farage. I don't like his wolf whistling. I don't like this "these people are bad" kind of vibe. It's very, Germany, World War II. And we can't blame a particular group of people for our problems. I think we have to come together and accept the problems are bigger than any one particular person or one particular issue. So I don't like that. I know that's how he riles up his base. I know that's how he gets these initial votes that give him the initial, funding then for his party. I just don't like it. It's an evil way to build a business, and that's what it is. Political parties are businesses. So there are certain people that I will avoid. But that being said, if he got elected and he said, Simon, you can fix the education system, I'll let you do it, I'd probably find a way to do it. You know what I mean? Like I've got to, if I'm going to fix a problem, I don't like him, and this will be public knowledge. If he gets elected, this will probably come up, this podcast, as I haven't publicly said this out, but I don't like him. I don't like the way he's built that party. But I want to fix the education system because I think the education system can even fix the wolf whistling that has appealed to those people. If you educate people about how the world works, like I moved to Hong Kong at 23 years old. I saw the world. I saw that Chinese people are not bad, for example. Before I moved to Hong Kong, everyone's telling me, oh, communism, China, Chinese people, communists, oh, bad. And I'm like, really? Okay. And then I moved there and you know what? They eat 3 meals a day. They care about their kids. They want to have a better life. They're kind. There's some bad people. There's some good people. They're exactly the same as us in England. Exactly. But until I moved there and lived there and understood that, I had this limiting belief system that somehow they were all communists. You see what I mean? And I think that's what Nigel Farage is doing to a part of Britain. People that don't have the education to understand it's not those people's fault that this country is in the mess that it's in. It's the education system's fault. And they're not being given the knowledge, the access to the opportunities. The talent is equally distributed, but the opportunity is not. And it's not their fault, but that is too default simple to blame a particular person coming on a boat to this country for all of our problems. And so ironically, maybe it'd be a Trojan horse if Nigel Farage let me in, because I would hopefully fix the education system so that he never got elected again.
When did you realise it was the education system that was at fault?
Well, I first realised the education system was at fault when I left school at 15 years old and I hit the real world. And I've been in school 12 years. 12 years is a long time to be in education.
What would you say to someone? Let's just play this out for a second. I'm not challenging. I'm just...
Yeah.
What if they said, that's not the education's fault, it was your fault, Simon?
Well, I mean, first of all, fault is not very healthy to blame anyone. Right. I think the way I look at it is there are certain things not being taught that should be taught. It's just that simple. And so, financial literacy should be taught. The first experience nearly all young people now have with money is university debt. So most kids, 23, 24, they've got 40, 50,000 pounds worth of debt, and it's perfectly normal. It's just part of their life, and they'll be paying that off for the rest of their life. And they get introduced like a drug to debt as very normal. Of course, then it's a mortgage and it's a car loan and it's credit ratings, right? All of this stuff, the wrong thing is being taught to you. You're being taught that debt is okay. And I think that all we need to do is just say, look, let's not blame anyone, but let's just white elephant in the room. Why are we not teaching people about money? Well, maybe if we teach them about money, they'll stop selling time. Because if they'll stop selling time, you can't make money selling time. There's no... Well, the problem when you sell time is you have a limit. And the more... As you get older, your lifestyle costs go up. And if you sell time, all you can do is sell your time for more money. But everyone that's rich doesn't sell time, they buy time. Selling time does not work and does not scale because you as a human have a limited amount of time.
They're definitely not teaching that.
So, but why? I mean, again, first day at school should be, look, let me teach you how to buy time, not sell time. But teachers are selling time. The very people that are teaching you don't know what we're talking about. And so instead of blaming, conspiracy theories or, there's just white elephant in the room. We all can pretty much agree the education system is broken. The only thing we may disagree on is how to fix it. But let's start with what we can all agree. It cannot be anything but good to teach people how money works. It cannot hurt to do that. And then, in my opinion, layering on top purpose. What problem in the world can you solve? What harm does it do teaching this? I tell you what harm it does, if you want to get into conspiracy theories. Less people going on the treadmill, less people working for JP Morgan, less people working for these institutions that have no purpose other than to make money for the people that own them. That's the danger. And so...
I move up the career ladder.
Yeah, work for companies that you sell them your hours and they sell your output, which is often solution orientated. So all the big companies sell solutions, not time, but you're selling time. So everybody you work for, if you work for someone else, is making money out of you. You're leaving money on the table.
What kind of books do you think people should read to educate themselves on this? I mean, are we talking classic Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
So first of all, I'm dyslexic, so I don't read any books.
The advantage, you can listen to books now.
Yeah, of course. But I'm just saying that I'm the worst person to ask what book you should read. The only book I know that's good is my own. So you should definitely read that, right? What's Your Dream on Amazon. But the point is, I think sometimes the way I frame what book you should read, the better question is, whose life do you like and who do you want to look up to? And then go deep dive on all their content.
Go and study them.
Yeah, and whoever that is. And that could be, someone from history that's already gone, because a lot of content out there on them. If it's Caesar, and his leadership skills, it's all documented. You can go on ChatGPT and it'll tell you.
You could watch Gladiator.
You can watch Gladiator. I think, I think the instead of thinking about what book to read, I think people should see, I always tell people, only take advice generally from people whose life you want. Be careful taking advice from people whose life you don't want. Like the parents, for example, will tell you things that worked for them 30, 40 years ago.
It's a good point, that.
Buy a house. Buy a house, they'll tell you, right? It worked for them. It was a different time. They don't know the value of social media today. They don't know that what they should be saying to their kids is, it's like the wild, wild west on social media right now. You can build a business on social media and you can be 18, 19, 20 years old with no money. You can post your product and business on social media. It can go viral and you've launched your business by tomorrow. Now, parents don't know that because all they knew 30 years ago was buy a house. And yes, they bought a house and it went up in value. By the way, compared to gold, it didn't go up as much as gold. But anyway, by the by, point is that the advice that you get often is wrong based on old experience, right? Now, the other side of it is, are your parents living the life that you want to live? Because if you take their advice, you're going to spend 30 years in a job paying off a mortgage to one day retire and have a life you want. Okay, well, why not have a life you want now? So who's having the life now that you want? Follow them. Learn from them. And probably, if they're good, they've got a book. They've probably got a podcast. They've probably got a YouTube channel. They've probably got someone, like, I really like Rory Sutherland.
Yeah.
He's a really great marketeer. He doesn't necessarily have his own channels, but he's so much of his knowledge is on other people's channels. You need to Google him and you can go listen to his content. So if you want to learn marketing, he's one of the best in the world, go listen to him. I think I'm one of the best in the world, go listen to me. But, again, like I've been married, I've been with my wife 24 years. Right? I have no interest in, chatting up women. So if you want to learn how to chat up women, don't listen to my content. You won't get anything from me.
Yeah.
I'm useless, right? But if you want a good marriage, I'm probably not a bad person to generally listen to. If you want to build a business with purpose, where that purpose and the profit from that business goes to help people, I'm probably a good person to listen to. If you just want to make profit and you just want to be really financially successful, maybe go listen to Warren Buffett, because he told you to invest in Coca-Cola, and he's probably right. But I personally don't want to invest in a drinks company that poisons people. I'm not interested. So I won't be listening to Warren Buffett. Doesn't mean he's a bad person. I'm just saying, like, who do you want to get your advice from? Whose life do you want? And that's a better question than what book should you read, in my opinion. Again, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the guy that wrote that is a bit of a scoundrel. So, but some of the principles in the book are pretty good.
I'd heard it was Sharon Lecter that wrote it anyway, not him.
Well, there you go. You're beginning to unravel like someone sold some. I don't know anything about that. You might get into legal, allegedly. But again, like I think there's bad people, interestingly enough, do have some good things to teach you. But I would just be careful of also like segmenting the good advice from the bad advice. And I see this, with celebrities, and I've suddenly forgotten his name, but the fashion designer, singer, I think I blocked his name out because I've heard it too often. But it'll come to me in a minute. But anyway, he's giving advice on politics. He's a great fashion designer. He's a brilliant music mongol. But please don't talk about like political and geopolitical issues. Like, what do you know about what's happening in Israel and Palestine? What do you actually know? Are you there? Do you understand the political undercurrent? No, you don't. So people are listening to these people though. And because they have a voice in music and they have a voice in fashion, for some reason people are taking their insight on what should happen, in Israel and Gaza. I'm like, no, these people shouldn't even have a platform to talk about those things, in my opinion. And people certainly shouldn't listen to them because they don't understand it. I want to learn from people that actually understand these things.
Do you know what? It's one of those moments that is like what you did at BizX when you said it's not who you want to be, what problem are you going to solve? It's not what book are you going to read.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you going to follow and study and learn from that's been there and done it? And,
yep.
That you can actually go and get something from. It's a deeper, more profound question. Love it. You got me. In the middle of all that, or towards the start of all that, you said you were pretty good at marketing. What makes you so good at marketing?
I think I could put myself in the mind of the viewer.
Right.
I think that's it. You understand what the viewer needs, and I'm willing to take risks. So, I go into the street and ask people questions. I was ridiculed by my peer group when I first started doing this, by the way. Going on TikTok and asking people what their dream is was not what the other people I'm in a group of people that have all exited their businesses, some of them for hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
And when they first started, they sent the video in the group like, Simon, what are you doing this for? TikTok is where people are dancing. Like, what's this about? Like laughing emoji, like I'm a joke. They're all, buying property and investing in this, that, and the other. And here I am on TikTok with a microphone. And so I think, marketing is taking a risk, and I think it's taking a calculated risk, figuring out what the consumer wants, not what you want, and then trying things. So, I started doing a podcast. I interviewed 200 people before I started doing street content. So I think it's also like, well, I could have kept going and just done podcasts, but I felt it wasn't really bringing value to my audience anymore. So, for me at that stage, I could have just kept doing podcasts. I had sponsorship. I could just sit down and talk to really interesting people. So it was quite good fun for me. And I could have just kept on doing that. And I probably would have one of the world's biggest podcasts now, but it wasn't bringing value to my audience. And the reason was the messaging from all the people I interviewed ended up basically being the same. Persevere, look out for luck, take risk. And after a while, it was just the same content. So I had to take a risk and almost dump that old podcast model and go into the street, which is harder work, by the way.
That's personal renewal as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's letting the old thing die so something new can grow.
Yeah. There was a lady in fashion I interviewed once, and she made that point. She's got about 15 million viewers, followers, and she said her growth happened in stages. Whenever she plateaued, she needed to go through a renewal process, because everyone who'd supposed to see her had seen her. Mm-hmm. And she needed to renew in some way. So maybe that's what you did.
Well, everyone in business used to do this, by the way. I mean, the most dramatic version of this was during COVID, right? You see really successful cafes suddenly have to do home delivery. You have to completely reinvent your business based on the environment. By the way, I think this is about to happen with AI. Every single company needs to reinvent themselves, and they need to be eyes wide open and do it very soon.
Let's just give a bit of energy to that. I mean, because we get it. We get the statement. Just tell us a little bit more about why you're saying it.
Well, I think a lot of people don't just understand even the basics of the technology. So I launched an app a couple of weeks ago called What's Your Dream on the App Store. It hit number 4 on the App Store worldwide. And basically, it's me, AI me. Eventually, it'll be AI, lots of people. But you can go and have a conversation with this app, just like you and I are chatting now, and it's almost better than me. So you literally have a voice conversation. You can ring me and say, hey, Simon, I've got this business idea. What should I do? And I will answer like me. Because a lot of the AI, we don't know what the source code is. So where's the knowledge coming from? So I think there's a gap for like knowledge based on a particular person, like media, like The Economist. I like reading The Economist. You know that their open economy mindset, you know where they sit was politically. So when you're reading their content, you kind of understand where they're coming from. I think that that's going to happen in the AI world too. People want to know the source of the knowledge, source of the information. And the reason I bring it up is because I realized I had hundreds of people every day asking for my help that I couldn't help. So I thought, why don't I make an app where people can go and get help? But if I was a consultant, if my business model was someone paid me to give them advice, I would have just destroyed my own business with that. Okay? So I'm basically spending money on building something and then putting something in the market that costs me money every day to keep going to destroy an income stream. Right? This is the innovator's dilemma model. So luckily for me, I'm at a stage in life where I don't need to charge a consultancy fee. So I can kill that potential income stream off forever by building this AI that is me and replaces me and is better than me. And you can call it any time and get help and advice. But I feel a lot of people do not eat their own lunch. And if you look at history, like the Walkman, they could have had the iPod, but they didn't want to kill the Walkman.
Yeah.
So they kept it going until it got eaten by the iPod. However, Apple had the iPod, one of the most successful music devices of all time. And what did they do? They put it in a phone. How many iPods are for sale now? Right? They killed their own business. And I think with AI, you've got to look at it the same. I sat with my accountant this morning. 8 years he's been my personal accountant. I told him, within 5 years, I'm going to be using an AI accountant. So what are you going to do? Do you want to be the AI accountant, or you want to wait until that happens? And he's been building his business for 12 years. It'll all be gone.
Every business needs to reinvent themselves with AI. That's what you said right at the start of that. Pay attention to that, folks. There's definitely something in that. You know, there's a bit of self-reflection to go on there. Probably a bit of courage as well.
Yeah.
I mean, go back to when you switched off the podcast and started the real, almost like reality on the streets, yeah? Did it take courage at your end, or is it an easy decision? How did it come about, that decision? Because that was reinventing yourself.
I think, interesting, the word courage. If I reflect on it, I've always been someone that had a feeling that things weren't right.
Intuition.
So my intuition was telling me that the podcast format was a bit dry. And, you know, I like now sitting here, I don't know what the audience actually need to hear. Who's listening to this, and what do they actually need? Because if they told me, if one of your audience members said, right now, Simon, I need to know how to raise money, I could spend the next 5 minutes being really useful to that listener. But I don't actually know what they want. Right now, maybe when they listen to this, they can put it in the comments.
Yeah.
Great, then we can figure out what they want, right? And I felt with podcasts, I still feel that with podcasts, that I didn't have that. So my initial thing wasn't I'm going to build a, street content machine. No, I just thought, right, I'm going to go and ask people, what is it they need? What is it they'd like to build, and what's stopping them? My initial kind of thinking around it was literally just like a customer survey. It wasn't this machine I've now built, but like any entrepreneur, once I saw that it was working, then I doubled down on it, right? So that's how you scale a business. People make the mistake, especially now when they can raise money so easily. They build an idea and then they scale it. WeWorks was like this. They scaled a business that actually didn't have an economic model that worked. That's why they eventually crumbled. They signed leases that couldn't make money. So what I did is I went into the street. I asked people what their dream was. First of all, it lit me up, right? I was kind of like, wow. The first person I asked was in this supermarket, and she was filling up the counter. I went in to get a sandwich, get a meal deal for lunch or whatever, and I just looked at them and just like, what is your dream? You're filling this counter up, like, but what's your dream? What is it you're thinking about? And she told me this incredible story, and I just felt something. I was like, this is interesting. Here's a person that's basically filling up the counter in the supermarket, and she has this incredible dream. It blew me away. I would have just walked by. I would have taken my sandwich and just walked straight by her, just thinking, someone that's filling up a counter. Okay. And I just thought, wow, this is interesting. And so I followed my interest. I didn't follow the money. I didn't know there was any money in this path. I just thought, wow, that's interesting. Actually, I thought, crap, I wish I'd recorded it, because I could have put that on my social media. At that time on my podcast, I had an okay following. I could have put that up and helped them, but I didn't film it. It was like, stupid me. I should have filmed it, then I could have helped them a bit more, right? Because most people's businesses need marketing. Most ideas just need a couple of clients, right? Tesla, Elon Musk, I know everyone hates him at the moment. I still like him. He launched a Cybertruck idea years before the Cybertruck came out, right? He got people signed up and paid a deposit for product, and then when he made it, he knew there was a market demand for a certain amount of product, right? And I think most people just need that as a customer. Need 10 people to say, yes, I will use your service. If you build it, I will use it. And that gives people the courage to quit their job and go and build it. So anyway, I think, got
to get into sales though.
Well, I think everyone should get into sales.
Which is a barrier for a lot of people.
A mistake. Again, school doesn't teach it, does it?
Yeah, limiting belief.
And sales is, I say it to my team all the time, everybody's a salesperson. Yeah. My number one salesperson in my last company was my accountant. And when I interviewed her, she's kind of an introvert, and she, if I'd said to her, oh, welcome, you're going to be my number one salesperson, she would have not even started the job.
Why was she your number one salesperson?
So in my previous business, Fluid, we would fix companies, right? So people would come in with their problems, and we would turn them around and often help them become profitable again or make them more profitable.
Right.
And she would see it in the numbers, right? Because she would see as a company what we were doing and how we would help these companies. And then she would go sit with other CFOs for lunch. and she'd be telling them about the client we just turned around because she was proud of her work, right? Yeah. No one sits around talking about the number in the bank. They're not allowed, first of all, and how much the cash flow of the company is. They're not allowed to talk about that stuff, but they do talk about what they're working on and what their company does. And those CFOs would all go back to their CEOs and say, I was sitting today and I just heard about this company Fluid, and apparently they really helped turn around this division in blah, blah, blah. So we should bring them in. And next thing I know, I get an email from the CEO saying, can we have a chat? Sales is just storytelling.
Yeah, well,
I don't know why people make it so complicated.
And that's a great lesson as well, a great story, great lesson for all of the listeners. They can relate to that. They've probably got the best salesperson in a lot of companies listening to this right now is probably not the person they were initially thinking of.
No.
That's really cool. Got a few different questions for you. What's your definition of happiness?
Owning my time.
Are you doing that now?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'm spending time on things, and not every single minute is optimized, but I'm working on my mission, right? And if I wanted to, I could step out of this podcast right now, halfway through the interview, and go home and see my family, if I wanted to.
Do you know what? It's the wisest answers are often the sharpest. There's only 3 words there. What's your definition of happiness? Own my time. Mm-hmm. Any listener, own your time.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
What's been your toughest moment?
Well, since becoming a father, I find it really hard. The word balance is a word I don't like to use, but I find it quite hard I don't want to miss a single moment with my son. And, it's his birthday at the weekend, for example. It's summer. He's going to be 8. Nothing's more important to me than being there for his birthday. But equally, there's things that come up that sometimes mean I'm not with him at moments when I would like to be. And the only way I can justify that is my purpose. And I'm trying to make the world a better place for him. And actually I try to bring him along. So I home educate my son now. So I try to bring him with me.
What would you say to people that are considering home education?
Do it.
My wife is.
Yeah, 100%. It's so misunderstood. I bet your listeners, this is an example of a limiting belief system. So if you believe what I'm about to say as a listener right now, you have a limiting belief system you need to get rid of to have a better life. Right, you've probably got 25 limiting belief systems at least. I'm going to highlight one right now. And if you hear it, and I tell you it now, and you hear it, you have to buy my book if I'm right. Okay? Most people think home education is me sitting at home teaching my son something, or my wife sitting at home teaching my son something. That is not true. The basic principle of home education is community driven. So my son, weirdly, really likes sword fighting. So we go to groups where other kids who like sword fighting do sword fighting. And you know what they do by mistake, by accident, because they enjoy sword fighting? They learn history. You know, when they're learning the history of the kings and the queens and the different swords they have, they find out how much those swords cost. And then they figure out the materials in those swords and how they managed to source them and where the materials came from all over the world. So they learn import and export and finance, and they learn everything they need to learn at school by following their passion, sword fighting. Right? And I think that learning shouldn't be a struggle. Learning should feel like a natural progression following something you're interested in. And so if you think school was sit down on your own in a room and teach your kid, you're wrong. You should learn more about it because you can have more choice if you've got kids than you realise. Home education is a real option because the education system is broken. It's a real option. It's community driven. It's not you doing it all on your own. Of course not. So people have this belief that home education is this thing that you just do on your own. It's completely the opposite.
What a wonderful story. So your son's going to turn into a Japanese
samurai
maybe
warrior. yeah. I mean, again, like, why not? In an AI world, that might be one of the few things that AI is not doing. So go for it, man.
He'll learn ikigai and purpose and all of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, if you just let kids follow their passions, they want to learn. If you force them to learn something they're not interested in, of course they're going to reject learning.
What's been the hardest lesson you've had to learn personally?
I'm not here to teach my son anything. He's here to teach me stuff.
Wow. All the parents are relating to that one. What's the biggest myth about having purpose?
That it has to be big. It doesn't have to be big. I mean, it sounds silly, but someone recently started a parking app that helped them find a parking space because someone stole their parking space right in front of them and it annoyed them. It doesn't have to be, get humans on Mars before a meteor hits Earth. It can simply be a problem that's annoyed you. And it doesn't even have to be a big market. It can be like, why are baths not built to help disabled people? Why do you have to put all these weird things on baths? But you know what I mean? Like, it can be a problem that you've seen for your family members or
you just made that one up?
Yeah, I just made that one up.
I bet
First time I've ever said it. It's probably a good idea.
If a listener has got that kind of purpose now, what should they do? Should they reach out to you direct?
Maybe, sure, feel free to go on Help Bank. Someone there will help you do it. But equally, you could create a community of people that, have felt the pain and would invest in your idea. And you'll probably be, niches are really clever to start a business as well. You've got a niche market for things like that, right? Like starting small is actually really powerful. And I think, we've all got to think, why not think big? I totally am someone personally who likes to do things big. But equally, like, there's a lot to be said in just a lifestyle business, something that you enjoy doing. Someone said to me the other day they like growing flowers, right? They like gardening, and they just wanted to do that full time. I'm like, well, just sell flowers outside the front of your house, grow them and sell them outside the front of your house. Why not have fun with it? Be a kid again, selling lemonade on a stand, right? And you're growing flowers all day and try it out. Give yourself 6 months to try it. Give yourself a bit of savings and a runway. And give it a go. You never know where it might go. If you cut the flowers on TikTok, you'll probably make money on TikTok. You watch the flowers grow with a time lapse and put it on Instagram. You probably get sponsored by some company that wants to sponsor that sort of content. Build a business model around what you love. You'll be surprised how easy it is to make money.
What's the most beautiful thing in the world?
Love. True love. That's why I tell people this kind of Tinder world, where everything's disposable, you move on from relationships so quickly. Not many people understand how powerful deep love is. This whole thing with Chris Coldplay, it upset me because I think the world's gone this way. Like deep love, respect, honor. These are things that you leave as a legacy. And all you've got is that. All you've got is your name and your reputation. Do you want to be the person that cheated on your wife? Do you want to be the person who again, I think about my wife. I wouldn't be here today without her. And sure, we've been together a long time, so our love has changed. You could argue it's not the lust love anymore, but I like the evolution of love. And when you go deep on love, that trust, authenticity, honesty, you know each other's weaknesses and strengths, and you still love each other. Like, I just want everyone to know how powerful that is, and it's not sold enough. There's still the exciting stage of love is the lust stage in so many people's minds. It's not the most exciting part of love. Deep love, a bit like deep purpose, is really, really exciting, and I want more people to get there to experience it.
You shared so many things on here today that's really caught my attention and resonated. I'm going to be listening back to this, taking notes again, but a few standout moments for me is I think the AI thing. Everybody's got to just take a look in the mirror for a second right now. Pay attention. It's time to reinvent your business and get on the front foot there. The biggest standout thing, though, is your passion, your purpose, how you're sticking to it. It's ridiculously inspirational, actually. If someone's to say to me who's the best in the world, maybe I've got a lot of cognitive bias because I'm sitting in front of you right now, at staying true to their vision and mission. You're the standout person in my mind. I'm directing everyone. You read your book, build your purpose. But the vulnerability that you've got with it as well, how you admit a few things that you've not got. And you showed that last time we met as well. So they'd be my favourite bits. What have been your favourite bits?
I am being honest about Nigel Farage, probably. I don't want to alienate anyone, but I really don't like what's happening there. Your warmth. I think you really care about people, and I think you're also someone that's learning. You're someone that helps people a lot, right? And I find sometimes when you become a guru, it's very hard to also change yourself because you've got to project this, I'm a guru. I like to see someone that's so empathetic and appreciate you.
Yeah, and I'm appreciating your knowledge as you're saying that, and I'm trying to listen for the audience. listening to what they want to hear from you, being that voice of their questions as good as possible. You're making a big difference in this world. Really proud to have you on this podcast.
Thank you.
Simon Squibb, thank you very much, sir.
Appreciate you.
Starting your own business was an exciting time, wasn't it? The good days you had and the bad. You knew you'd have to work hard, but you did it for your future. Lately, though, you're missing out on the important things in life. Time seems to be slipping by. So make the change. Claim back your work-life balance and grow your business today. Visit actioncoach.co.uk